This is the Vega 1000 airbrush by Thayer and Chandler. These are now manufactured by Badger, since Badger bought Thayer and Chandler. Now this is quite possibly the simplest airbrush I've ever picked up. I think it's that's not to detract from the fact that it's a great airbrush. I was quite surprised with it, to be honest with you. Now the reason it's such a simple airbrush, there's very little to it. There's little to go wrong with it, and there are actually no internal seals in this. So the needle actually just travels through basically a machined hole in the body of the airbrush. Now, because of that, there's no drag at all on the needle. When you pull this back, it's just as smooth as silk, and that's just straight out of the box. So what I'll do is I'll just we'll go through taking this to pieces and then putting it back together again, and we'll just discuss the design and look at the nozzle, etc. Okay, let's begin by stripping this down then, and then we'll put it back together again. As I said, this is a very simple airbrush. There's very little to it really, so I'll just show you how easy it is. As usual, handle off. This has got these pretty standard cutaway now. Thayer and Chandler actually started this off. It's now universally used throughout the airbrush world, and that's a very lightweight aluminium handle. Okay, so first of all we'll withdraw the needle. So we're just slackening off the needle nut, just pulling the needle straight out. This is a universal needle and nozzle. It's a cone-shaped nozzle, and this will do anything from really fine lines to broader spraying patterns. I was really impressed with how fine the line is that you can do with this. It really was good. So that's the needle out. Okay, I'm going to take the nut off now, and then we've got the spring housing, and screwing that all the way. Okay, well, that leaves behind the spring, which is a pretty lightweight one actually. It was really nice straight out of the box. And then this is the needle guide with the attached rocker lever. I think this is another first as well. I think Thayer and Chandler initially attached this to the needle guide. Used to be a separate part, but now it's pinned to it, so that makes for easy assembly and disassembly. So I like that. Okay, now we've got the trigger. Just comes straight out. As usual with Thayer and Chandler and Badger, this is just got a detent on the bottom, which hits a plunger on the air valve. So there's absolutely no moving parts to this, which is good. And that's the rear end taken to bits. Moving around to the front, we'll just take the air cap off. A nice fine thread on this, and now you can see the exposed cone tip. Okay, I'm just going to undo that, and this will just leave behind the nozzle in the airbrush body. It just sits in there. There's no thread or anything, and that's it. That's the whole thing stripped down. That's as far as you need to go, and we'll put it back together again. Right, okay, starting from the front. Nozzle in place. I've actually put a little bit of lube on this on the nozzle just to keep it in the body. There's a danger that it can just drop out while you're trying to put everything together, so a bit of lube just sticks it in there. Okay, just carefully make sure you get the thread lined up. Screwing that into position. I'm just doing this finger tight. There are two flats on here. You can actually use a wrench just to nip it up a little bit tighter if you want, but I'm not going to bother now. It just seats against an O-ring here in the body, so that's that bit done. we'll put the air cap on now. That'll just make sure that the end of the nozzle's protected while we work on the rest of it. It's got a nice fine thread on the front, so there you go, that's the front finished. We'll move back round to the back now, and we'll just insert the trigger. Now the trigger just seats on it's got a detent in the bottom, just sits on the plunger in the air valve, so just know that it's there, you can just feel it springing. So that's back in there. We'll put the needle guide in with the attached back lever. Push it in, you can see it riding up against the back of the trigger. You know that's in place okay. Now we've got the spring, and now we've got the spring housing. I'll just screw everything up. Now just push back on the trigger just to make sure that everything's lined up as you're doing this up. That way you know everything's going to work okay. You only need to do this in enough so that you can actually get enough thread in there to actually put the handle back on. You can adjust that later on if you want anyway, so I think that's about it really. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll put the needle chuck back on. Don't nip that up, just keep that loose, and then we're going to insert the needle as well, so just make sure you get everything lined up properly. You don't want to damage the tip of the needle, so just get it all lined up. I like to give it a little bit of a twist as I'm inserting it. Press down on the trigger as well, just keeps everything out of the way, and that's it. You can feel it just touching the nozzle, and then that's in as far as you need to go. Just nip up the chuck nut and you're away, and that's it. Handle back on, and that's it. So we'll put back together again.